Alright guys, today we're going to be starting 8B, our next target, and it's all about solving rational equations. So far we've just been doing a lot of operations. We've simplified, multiplied, divided, added, subtracted. Now we're going to use what we've learned to solve. Okay? So, with solving we're not really going to do the solve rational equations by cross multiplying. We're only going to solve rational equations by finding the least common denominator. Okay, and then identifying extraneous solutions. All that means is checking your answers. With rational equations, sometimes, that doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes you might find an answer that doesn't work when you plug it back in. So we just always want to make sure we plug all our answers back in and actually check them. So an extraneous solution is, again, a solution that must be rejected because it doesn't work when you plug it back in. And again, we're going to be using our least common denominator again, right? And we've been looking at that one with adding and subtracting. So let's look at some examples. Looking at example A, we have x over 4 equals 9 over 4x. We start off very much like when I'm adding or subtracting. I want to get a least common denominator. So this is really x over 4 equals 9 over 4 times x. So my least common denominator is, I need a 4 and I need an x. So then I have x, this one is missing an x. This one's not missing anything, right? It has both the 4 and the x. So now I have x squared over 4x equals 9 over 4x. Now all I do is, once I have a common denominator, I drop it. I get rid of it. I only care about my numerators. So x squared equals 9. Once you do that, you're just solving, whether it might be just a linear equation, so no squares, it might be a quadratic, you might have to factor, but then it's just solving. Okay? This is x squared equals 9, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I get x equals, the square root of 9 is both positive and negative 3. Okay? Remember, when you take a square root gives you both a positive and a negative solution. Okay? Now I need to check my answer. We always have to check. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug anything I got back into my equation. So I'm going to start with 3. So I got 3 over 4 instead of x equals 9 over over 4 times. 9 over 4 times 3. Alright, all I'm going to do is plug both sides of my calculator. 3 divided by 4 is just 3/4. 9 over 4 times 3, when I plug that in my calculator, I get 3/4. That checks out nicely. I'm going to do the same thing for the negative 3. So I have negative 3 over 4 equals 9 times 4 times negative 3. Right now I have negative 3/4 equals negative 3/4. Again, I'm just typing both sides, right? I'm going to type negative 3 over 4 on my calculator, and then I'm going to type 9 over 4 times negative 3 on my calculator. Okay? And I should get the same thing. So checking isn't hard. And that's it for solving. Let's look at another example. Looking at B, I have x minus 3 over x plus 5, right, minus x over x plus 2 equals 0. Remember, this 0 is really over 1. So I don't have to do any factor in here. So my least common denominator is x plus 5, x plus 2. I don't really have to worry about the 1, because 1 isn't really a factor that we worry about. So what am I missing? This one's missing an x plus 2. This one's missing an x plus 5. And my 0 is missing an x plus 2 and an x plus 5. So, when I distribute, I have x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6 over x plus 5, x plus 2, minus an x squared plus 5x over an x plus 5, x plus 2. Whenever you have a 0 times anything is just 0 over x plus 5. Now I'm going to kind of do two steps at once. I'm going to combine my like terms, but I'm also going to get rid of my denominator. Right? They're all the same. So now I'm just focusing on my numerator. So I'm going to make this a plus, negative, negative. Right? Well, x squared minus x squared, those are opposites. I have negative 3x plus 2x minus 5x. I believe that gives me a negative 6x. Then I have negative 6, so minus 6 equals 0. Now, once I have this, all I'm doing is solving. So, plus 6 plus 6, negative 6x equals 6. Then I'm going to divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. X equals negative 1. I am going to check that. I am going to put that back into my equation to check. So I have 1 minus 3 over 1 plus 5 minus 1 over 1 plus 2. This equals 0. And when I type that whole thing into my calculator, I do get 0 equals 0. Right? I don't have to solve mentally or anything like that. Just type that whole left side into your calculator. So our solution is x equals negative 1. Alright, let's look at C. 9 over 3x plus 1 over 6 equals 4 over 3x. So again, I am going to start by factoring. So I get 9 over 3 times x plus 1 over 6 is really 2 times 3 equals 4 over 3 times x. So for my least common denominator, right, I need a 3, an x, and a 2, right? I need a 3, I need an x, and then I need that 2. So this first one is missing a 2. This second one is missing an x, and this one's missing a 2. So that means I have 18 over 2 times 3 times x plus x over 2 times 3 times x equals 6 over 2 times 3 times x. Again, now I can just get rid of, sorry, so 2 times 4 is 8, not 6. Right, going from there, 2 times 4 is 8. Now I can get, now that all my denominators are the same, I'm just going to use my numerator. So I have 18 plus x equals 8. I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides. So x equals negative 10. When I do that, after I do that, I'm going to plug it back in to check. So that's 9 over 3 times negative 10 plus 1 over 6 equals 4 times 3 times negative 10. When I do that, I get negative 4 over 30 equals negative 4 over 30. That checks out. All right, looking at our next problem, letter D. I have 4 over x plus 1 equals 2x plus 2. And the only thing I have to remember is anytime I just have a number that's over 1. So it's really 1 over 1. So my least common denominator, I have 4 over x. Alright, my least common denominator here is just x. So the only thing that's missing anything is this one. So really I have 4 over x plus x over x equals 2x plus 2 over x. Now that I have that, all I'm going to do is focus on my numerators. I have 4 plus x equals 2x plus 2. I need to get all my x's on one side. So 4 equals x plus 2. Now I need to move that 2 over. So x equals 2. Alright, after doing that, I'm going to substitute in. So I have 4 over 2 plus 1 equals 2 over 2 plus 2 divided by 2. When I do that, I get 3 equals 3. And that checks out. Alright, looking at our next problem. E, I have 6 over x minus 3 equals 8x squared over x squared minus 9 minus 4x over x plus 3. So again, this is where I have to make sure I am factoring. So I have 6 over x minus 3 equals 8x squared. X squared minus 9 is difference of squares. Minus 4x over x plus 3. Okay. So my least common denominator, I need an x minus 3 and an x plus 3. Okay. So I'm going to have an x plus 3 here and an extra x plus 3 here. This middle one is not missing anything. This last one is missing an x minus 3. So once I distribute, I have 6x plus 18 over x minus 3x plus 3 equals 8x squared over x minus 3 x plus 3 minus, again, distributing, I get 4x squared minus 12x all over x minus 3 x plus 3. Again, this is subtraction, so it's going to be plus, negative, and positive. So again, I'm just going to focus on my numerators. That's 6x plus 18 equals 8x squared plus negative 4x squared plus 12x. So, kind of simplifying, I have 6x plus 18 equals, this is really 4x squared plus 12x. Once you have both an x squared and an x, you know you are going to be factoring. So, what we're going to do is we're going to set it equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. I'm also going to subtract 18 from both sides. That means this is 0 equals 4x squared plus 6x minus 18. Okay? Now I am factoring, just like we've been doing in every other problem. I'm going to pull out a 2. Once I pull out that 2, alright, I'm going to do my factoring. Remember, this is the one with something in front of the x squared. So I have to add, multiply to negative 18, but add to 3. That's 6 and negative 3. And then I need to divide by that same 2 that I multiplied by. So 6 over 2 equals 3. Negative 3 over 2 doesn't simplify. So I have 2 times x plus 3 2x minus 3. This is still equal to 0. Once I do that, it's just like switching from zeros to factors. I'm just changing the sign. So x equals, right, if it's x plus 3, x equals negative 3. If it's 2x minus 3, right, or negative 3 halves, I have to change the sign. It's 3 halves. Okay? So really you can just go even from here and go, okay, I know I just have to change the sign on both of those. X equals negative 3 and x equals 3 halves. Alright, that's all we're going to do. I think we'll do a bunch of practice over the next few days. But that's it for tonight.